Hey everybody, it's Ziz here, and welcome to the Ashes Report, where I keep you up to date on the development of Ashes of Creation. For July 2017, we got a first look at the PvP arenas that will be playable at PAX. They did a time-lapse video showing how they built them and put them all together. We also got a new video showcasing a new zone that will be used in the PAX event to showcase their PvE content, and it looks so good. There was also a blog post talking about their group dynamics. We're going to take a look at that and a whole bunch more right now. Now, the first thing we're talking about is the PvP arena they're building for PAX. There's actually two videos. This one we're watching here, which is from the live stream. There's also a separate YouTube version they put up. I'm going to have a link to both of these down in the description below. So if you want to see the full thing, go check those out. I got it all laid out for you guys. The one on YouTube is like a more put together sort of fly through, and there's actually 3 different arenas they show in that video. This one, though, I really love because it shows the process sort of start to finish of how they put it all together. And one thing that really stuck out to me was that you can tell the developer who built this thing really knows what they're doing, which you would say, well, obviously they do, they're a professional, but it amazes me how many people on the forums and Reddit are like, oh, I could put that stuff together in 5 minutes. That's just Unity assets, blah, 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 blah. No, you couldn't. You could not do that the way these people do. The way they lay everything out, you can already tell the strategy involved, the different nooks and crannies, places you can hide, and different places you can capture, and the pathways and the different, height maps and all that sort of stuff. It's really paying off. When Steven Sharif said that they're hiring MMO developers, you can really tell with something like this that it was a great idea to hire people who have done this before, because it looks great and it's going super fast. Now, the first one we're looking at here is the snowy wintry arena. They said they might have that available for PAX. The other one, though, here, this is the Metropolis arena, and they said this for sure is the one that will be playable at PAX. They know for sure. And one thing that might be in for PAX, or definitely later, that they want to add are environmental hazards. So when you see those like giant fireballs in the sky, or maybe flame shoots out different those are going to be things that will be added in to add even more stuff to the arenas. I'm hoping they add stuff like maybe lions or tigers or something, thing like the Roman Colosseum, and they would come out in chains, and like that would be really cool if they added that sort of stuff. Now, the way it's going to work, the system they're going to use for PAX is going to be like a control point game mode, where there'll be a control point. If you control it, obviously you get points that rack up. You also get points, though, for killing the enemy players, and there can be a captain on each side, and killing them will give you even more points. So this is the 4v4 arena they're going with for PAX. Obviously, it's still alpha, stuff can change, but it sounds like a really pretty awesome system to me. Next up is a video they showed with the new environment that's going to be playable at PAX, and I don't know about you, but I think this looks so good. Like, please be this way when you're playing it in game. Just the way the rocks stick up and the light shines through, and all the trees and the bright tree color and the dark rocks, and it looks amazing. Now, this is going to be the demo people will get to play at PAX this year, and they said this is going to be a developer run through. So they're going to have a party, 4 people, right? You got the tank, the cleric, the mage, and the ranger, right? And the dev is going to like walk them through it. So you're going to get to see the different monsters that are here. They even said there's going to be environmental hazards. So like some of those pools of water are just water, but I would guess the ones with the green puffs of smoke and stuff, that's like poisonous, right? And acid, and like it looks really awesome. It looks really great. Some people don't care about graphics, but I feel like the graphics need to be good enough where you can get sucked into the world, where it can be distinct and different from other games you've played. And they showed this weird like pulsing egg thing inside a cavern with like crystals and all. It looks really, really interesting, really distinct, different than other games, which I love. I'm really excited about being in this world and getting to play. They also said there's going to be a boss in the area that like influences the area with like corruption, and the players are going to have to defeat them. Now, I don't know if that's going to be just a boss fight, or if there's maybe other like quests and things you can do in the area to help, overthrow them. I don't know. We're going to find out at PAX, but it looks awesome and I love it. Next up, we got a group dynamics blog post. And this is the first blog post we've had for a little while since the Kickstarter. And a couple of things that really stood out to me on this. One, first of all, you see it's blog post 1 of 2. So they're going to talk more about grouping, hopefully with some more meaty, detailed information. But this one had a lot of good stuff. First, at the top, they talk about how important grouping is and how important it should be to the game. They said that soloing is encouraged and viable, but that grouping is essential to the game. They talked about how in other games it's like an option, but it's kind of not like required. It's not focused. Like they want to put them massively back in massively multiplayer online. And so first they started out talking about how it's going to be 8-man groups. That's right. Not 4-man, not 5, not 6, 8-man groups. Now, as someone who came from Dark Age of Camelot, anybody who played that game, we are all about the 8-man, because that game was only 8-man groups and it was amazing. Now, there's something about having a larger group. I've been telling you, you talk to anybody who played Dark Age of Camelot and they love 8-man groups. There's just so much more involved, right? You know how you get that big feeling where you're in a raid and like there's a ton of stuff going on, it's kind of crazy. It's like kind of like that, where like 5 people, it's kind of like whatever, it's a small group. 8 people, it's like now you got something going on. Now there's a lot happening. Now you got multiple pulls. Now you can actually have off tanks and off healers, right? Instead of this 1 tank, 1 healer, a couple DPS, right? It's really interesting. Now, they talked about tuning encounters to the 8-man party. And you probably know they have 8 classes right now. Every class has their own special utility ability. Like the cleric, I'm pretty sure it's a cleric, can cleanse an area of curses and stuff, and the mage can like move rocks and debris out of the way. They talked about making encounters that use a group's utilities, and so that gets me wondering, are you gonna have to have only 1 of every class? That way you get 1 of every utility to be able to do these encounters? Which it's cool to be able to have your utility be useful, right? That's good. But what if you want to bring 2 fighters instead of a fighter and a ranger, right? Like, I hope that they don't make it where you literally have to bring 1 of every single class. Now you might be saying, well, no, of course not. That's stupid. But come on, games have done that in the past. So hopefully there is some still, flexibility. Hopefully you can still do the encounters, even if, oh, we didn't bring a bard. That's okay. We can still do it with what we have. Side note here, they talked about how this kind of makes it harder for smaller groups of players, right? Maybe smaller guilds to make sure they have 8 people in a group. That's harder than having 3 or 4 or 5. So they said, and I really love this, that it should hopefully be easier because they're going to have large servers. Now, you may think, well, yeah, it's MMO. Of course, they have large servers. But again, using the Unreal Engine, some people might have said, well, they're going to have smaller groups, smaller parties, smaller servers, a smaller world. No, they're going for massive, huge world, big MMO, big parties, big groups of players. They put it there, black and white, large servers. Now, they end the whole blog post talking about traditional looting, need, greed, right? Roll for it, stuff like that. But they also said a bidding system built into the game is something they want to make optional. So you're going to have all that standard looting stuff, but you're in a party and like, hey, you got to bid for it, like actual bidding your money. Hey, I'll bid 500 gold for that helmet. And this other person says, I'll bid 800 gold, right? And then that person gets it. But the coolest part is whoever wins it, whatever gold they bid 800 gold, that gets split up between all the rest of the party, right? Which is really awesome. Everybody gets something. The person got the item that they wanted. They paid some gold. Everybody else, they were part of the encounter. They helped get that treasure and that loot, and they get a little reward for it too. Something else they showed in the most recent live stream was this awesome looking armor. It looks so sweet. I mean, obviously you may not like the colors, but guess what? You can change the colors. There's going to be a dye system, but I love it. Purple is for royalty. It's got gold. This is obviously for the female. And this is specifically the armor that the cleric will be using in the PAX demo. But this gets a little confusing. They talked about originally having racial armor, and some people thought that meant racial lock, like you make a human, you have to use the human armor, right? But there was actually during the Q&A, someone specifically asked, is armor race locked? And they said no. So it's not race locked, but now they talk about how this is the cleric armor. Does that mean armor is class locked? You would probably say, well, no, it's not class locked, but possibly because they've also talked about looking at your opponent and being able to kind of tell what they are and what they do just by seeing like their silhouette and what they look like. They did this in Warhammer Online as well. But they've also talked about how armor is kind of open, where you can wear any kind that you want, right? You can wear light, medium, heavy, whatever you want. Use any weapon that you want. So I'm hoping, right? Everybody's hoping it's totally open and totally free. And they've definitely said that this armor can be worn by any race, but maybe it's still locked down by class. Probably not, but maybe. We'll have to keep an eye on that. They also showed us some new swag that's going to be available online on their web store. And we got a couple of different things here. We got hats, we got shirts, we got hoodies. There's even a Make MMOs Great Again hat, which I think is awesome. It would just troll everybody. I think it's hilarious. Some people probably get upset because it's politics, but I think it's funny. You got to lighten up, have some fun. They also showed a pin and some buttons. Now they talked about how this will be available at PAX. You can buy the stuff at PAX. It's also going to be on the web store. They also made the comment that some of it will only be available at PAX. Now, they didn't specifically list every single thing, so I think most of this is going to be available on their web store. But specifically, if you see that pin there that says 2017, they talked about how those pins specifically are going to be unique to every single convention and stuff they go to. So if you go to one of those conventions, you go to PAX this year, make sure you at least get that 2017 pin, because this is the only time they're going to be available. The other stuff should be available on the store soon. Some of the questions for this month's Q&A that I thought stuck out to me. First, someone asked about racial stats. If you have one class, let's say the fighter, are the stats going to be different if you use different races, which some games don't do that. It doesn't matter what stat what race you are, your stats are all the same, which is always kind of silly to me, right? Like, I want to be different. I want to be an orc. I want to be cool. I want to be a dwarf, right? Stephen Shreve said that every race will have different stats and they will actually change as you level up too. So you got your racial stats, then you got your class stats, and then your secondary stats. So it's all going to come together and be totally unique and different, which is really great. I love to see that. Another question, which I really loved, was about treasure hunting. Someone kind of had the question if it was going to be like a crafting sort of profession, if it was gonna be a profession, treasure hunt specifically. And they said it's not gonna be a profession, but there will be treasure hunting in the game, which will be open to everybody. So you can maybe be at a tavern and maybe you do a quest for the innkeep and he's like, hey, I found this treasure map here, why don't you take it, right? Or maybe it's just items you can buy from other people, right? There's gonna be treasure maps in the world that anybody can participate in. I really love that. That's super awesome. I hope they keep it where you don't have to have a special profession to do it. And last but not least, someone asked about food buffs, if there's a difference between just like making food buffs out in the world, or if you get special bonuses for going to the trouble of making ones at a tavern. And they said you will be able to have food buffs and stuff just out in the world, right? You pick some mushrooms and you make a buff, food plate from that. But also, if you go to the trouble of making an actual plate of food from someone who has like the cooking profession, that would be even better. And then if you have a tavern that is specialized in that sort of stuff, foods and buffs and stuff, it can be even better, and it can get buffs to people in the area. Now remember, you can make taverns on your own freeholds out in the world, which is really awesome, because let's say there's this big world boss that spawns, or there's a dungeon nearby or a raid. You get your freehold next to that area, you put up a tavern, and you have amazing buffs where people come and they eat, and who knows, they do 10% more damage as long as they stay within your circle of influence. But you're close enough to that raid where they can go to your raid. So every time a group or a guild wants to go do that raid, guess what? They're stopping by your tavern because you're the only one that has these awesome buffs, and guess how much you get to charge? A lot of money for that stuff. If you want to see every single question, a really awesome, great website is aocwiki.net. Of course, I got a link to that down below. And it's so great because they do a breakdown. They do notes for every single live stream with different timestamps. They have every question that is asked. So instead of watching the whole thing, if you just want to read through the questions, find one that interests you, and then you can go to that timestamp. They got all of these for all of the live streams they did, plus a ton, all the information. Basically everything that's available to know about AOC, it's on that website, aocwiki.net. Another community site which is really good is Ashen Foundry. This is made by the same people who made the Tamriel Foundry for Elder Scrolls Online, and I think that website was like the most used website for Elder Scrolls Online. Tons of stuff. There's forums. The new one here, ashenfoundry.com, has different articles and stuff written by different community members. There's discussions and forums. Lots of awesome stuff. So if you're looking for more content, go check that out. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that like button if you liked it. Subscribe for more content and share with your friends. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you next time.